Bay Packers, of course. We move on to the next game, which will be, well, we'll go to Andrew first because it's going to be talking about the Detroit Lions beating the LA Rams 24-23. They will progress on to play the Buccaneers Sunday, 8 o'clock. We'll talk about the Tampa game as well. But we'll begin with this Detroit team, Andrew. I mean, they have progressed the right way. I think this is the neutrals team, isn't it, at the moment? They just play some fantastic football with some incredible players. And they were really fortunate, obviously, getting Laporta back for this game. Amon-Ra St. Brown was incredible. What impresses you most about this Detroit team?
Just their will and desire, really. It's everything that you're saying that everybody's buying into. Some reason they're still a bit of an underdog, despite the fact of what they've done all year. So it's great that you can get behind them, and they've all got a point to prove, haven't they? Dan Campbell's got a point to prove, and Jared Goff's definitely got a point to prove with him, and that's great to see. But for me, I'm not sure about you guys, but I felt like this was the best game of the playoffs. I thought it was the one that was played with the most competitive, and I thought both quarterbacks were absolutely excellent in this game. Lovely little shootout. But yeah, they've got everything right on them, and everybody wants them to do well. And like I say, Jared Goff's got a big point to prove, hasn't he?
He definitely has. Johnny, do you think he's a point that he may be able to prove? Because like I said, let's start with Dan Campbell. How much has Dan Campbell just really grabbed this organisation by the scruff of the neck and just raised it to a height that they did not know they could get to, 3 years ago, or when he was even hired?
Oh, of course, he's as a sports person, you'd love to play under Dan Campbell. He's someone who motivates you. He gets you in the mood to, you just do absolutely anything to support him. He seems like such a great character, and he's got some brilliant footballing minds around him. Including the general manager Brad Holmes, who's done such a brilliant job of building this team. It's the perfect coaching front office setup. The best atmosphere I think in the NFL at the moment is in Detroit. I'm really excited for Jared Goff. It's going to be a really big game. The game of the quarterbacks who no one wanted. Once Jared Goff versus Baker Mayfield, one of them is going to be playing in an NFC conference championship game in a week's time. Who'd have thought that? So I think it's a really exciting time to be a Detroit fan, and for all that they've suffered over 30 years without a playoff win, I think they deserve it for the way they play and the characters that they've got around.
Sky, we'll talk about the Rams for a second. They really, held their own against this team. And like we said, the narrative of the story was, Goff v Stafford are playing against their ex-teams. Stafford got a few boos in the stadium as well. I mean, they're a team that's clearly got talent, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, but is it what needs to change for this Rams team to sort of push them over the edge? Because they're not quite on step with how they were when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think they need to take a lot of, positivity from this season. I'd said to someone on the weekend, I think Andrew's the only person I know who's talked the Rams up in the off-season. Everyone else probably, I heard the commentator last night saying, was it Aikman said no one had the Bucs over 4 wins? I was like, really? I felt like that's what people had the Rams at. So for them to get Kyren Williams, Nacua, I know me and Adam spoke that maybe looked like Cooper Kupp had lost a step, but, he's still an elite receiver on his day. Maybe a healthy off-season under his belt. They come back next year, they draft well again. We've seen the videos of McVay, and they knew they nailed that pick with Nacua from the get-go. So there was obviously some good chemistry going on there in that front office. I think the only reason they'll have that sour taste in their mouth is because of the game that they had with Stafford going back to Detroit. It almost felt like a lot of people felt he was going to walk in and beat his old team and get it done. But I say fortunately it wasn't the way, because I was happy for Jared Goff. But I think the Rams just need to keep pressing on and doing what they're doing, and they're primed for a bright future.
Adam, do the Rams have a bit of a case that they had a call that should have gone their way with a holding on Nacua? Do you think they may feel a little bit robbed by this?
Probably a little bit, but you get them all the time, don't you, when it's a bit like this? I think if that's the only thing you've got to complain about, then you know it's not that much really. I think you could argue there are calls in probably every game that could have changed certain little things, but yeah, you're probably right. There probably was a bit of a call there that could have gone their way, but at the same time, you know, they could have scored more points, couldn't they? So, you know, that would have helped.
It's always my argument.
Yeah.
It's always my argument. You can't blame flags. You can't blame it. You got to put points on the board, haven't you? Right, we'll still go on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beating the Philadelphia Eagles 32-9. Adam, I'm going to stick with you for the minute, so I don't have to hear Sky talk about Baker just yet. I mean, is this the shock result of the weekend?
I don't think it really was. I think it was, to me, when me and Sky were doing the betting show, we were very much saying it's a bit of a coin flip game, this one. The way that the Eagles sort of came into it with that defense struggling so much, you could score relatively easily on them. It felt like it could go either way. I think the majority of people probably thought the Eagles would keep it and would win just purely because of the players that they have on that team. And, you know, you feel like Jalen Hurts is going to rush a lot and sort of like be able to get over the line. Of course, it didn't really happen, and the Bucs came out winners of it. So I wouldn't say it was a massive shock. Really, I thought it could have gone either way. So yeah, I think the Bucs, they look pretty good.
I'm not even going to ask a question, Sky. I'm just going to say 22 for 36, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns. Take it away.
Pat a cake. Mayfield's the man. Baker needs to touchdown as fast as you can. I wrote it yesterday. He was throwing the ball with some zip. Like he's been good all season anyway. But again, now suddenly everyone wants to take notice. I think also the Tampa defense deserves credit. I mean, Levante David was the one who stood out for me watching the game. And, you know, Fred, I've mentioned all season about how, you know, there's people that have won that Super Bowl with Brady for his really impressive performance. But just going to Mayfield for 1 second, there's a slight segue, like seeing him and his confidence and coming in on a 1-year deal, prove it. And people even talking up Trask to outbeat him. And that was almost looks like disrespect. I feel like a character like him on the Cowboys is what they need. You know, sometimes you like Josh Allen on the Bills, Big Ben for you guys. You know, they were quarterbacks built for the cold weather. We know Tua could never play on a cold weather team. And I feel like Baker Mayfield, you know, he walked into the Browns, managed to get a playoff win. I know it didn't work out well, but he's just got the right attitude. And I feel like certain franchises need that. So, yeah, if Baker was on the Cowboys, they would have won the Super Bowl, wouldn't they? Just like the Bucs might.
I hate Baker Mayfield. Johnny, the Eagles, only 9 points, a team that has really struggled, it felt like season. Even though they've had an 11-6 record, a lot of people saying they were sort of posers, not really the same team as last year. I mean, what's gone wrong here for the Eagles?
It's become a really bad wildfire in Philly. I think it all comes down to play calling. We saw last night just how predictable the Eagles have become. And I saw a tweet from Gareth about the screenplays, constant screenplays. But he's right. Jalen Hurts is making plays. Based off what he's been told, and it's just nothing's going right because of how they've been set up. And I think Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator, and Matt Patricia as well, I think they're all going to be shoveled off. It's going to be an off season where so many people leave Philadelphia that they're going to have to make drastic changes. The free agency list, obviously, we had Jason Kelsey retire today. The free agency list is absolutely outrageous. The amount of big names as well, who are set to leave. And obviously AJ Brown didn't play in the game. There's been a lot of question marks over him in the last couple of weeks. They're over reliant on Devonta Smith. Some big changes needed in Philly. On paper, looking at the record, they started the season 10-1. For the last few weeks, they've not been able to get anything right. I thought they'd win this game, but yeah, they were, they got beat by a Buccaneers team who aren't particularly great, but you could tell they wanted it more, and they played and they were aggressive, and ultimately that's what wins you football games.
Andrew, I mean, it was actually a really successful weekend for you, wasn't it? Really, like the Cowboys and the Eagles both dramatic followed out the playoffs in dramatic fashion. We talked about Bills fans throwing snowballs in the air. There was a Eagles fan that threw popcorn at Nick Sirianni. Johnny talks about the huge amount of players that could be free agents. Jason Kelsey retired today. Is it going to be reset mode for the Eagles? Because they did the same thing to Doug Peterson, didn't they?
Yeah, cry Eagles, cry. Great.
I prefer that over pat a cake. Mayfield, by the way.
Do you know what? I think as good as Howie Roseman is at doing trades and getting draft picks and things like that, he apparently, I've heard this, his first choice head coach prior to getting Sirianni was Brandon Staley. Then he didn't get Staley, and he got Sirianni. And is anybody else thinking this screams out that they've got a bit of a Staley issue? If they bring him back, they've done what the Chargers did last year and bringing Staley back, and this is going to happen again, because if they don't make a change now, like you're right, well, they're going to have another year of just being bad and people becoming expensive, and what do you do with Jalen Hurts and contracts and everything like that. So they really need to get on this now. And they have been a team, as Gareth said in the group, that they do move on quite quickly from head coaches. But yeah, what does Sirianni do? What does he bring to the table? Well, he can't call the offense. He doesn't know what defense is. He clearly can't build a team of coordinators around him. But at the end of the day, they've still got some extremely good pieces on that team. I mean, they went heavy on drafting a lot of Georgia defensive players from that extremely strong defense of the Georgia Bulldogs. They still have got nice pieces at running back. They've still got Jalen Hurts, who just needs someone a coordinator or head coach to get him back on track, because I just think he hasn't been. I think he's been injured all year. I don't think he's ever been fit once this year. And you've seen a clear drop off from after Shane Steichen left in the way he plays. So there's still a lot at the Eagles, I think, for them to move forward. There's a lot of nice pieces. It's not rebuild, is it? There's a lot of youngsters. But yeah, when did they forget to run the ball? I mean, I thought they were like a bit more of a run first team, and they ran the ball like 16 times. So yeah, bit strange what's going on there. But as we said earlier, very, very strong head coach off-season class. So, they're another team that needs to make a decision quickly.
We'll stick on you, Andrew. We'll stick on you and Johnny for this ending section. Sunday, 8:00, the 4th seed Buccaneers go to the Detroit Lions. A game that's, I mean, you talk about it like a guy with motivation and an emotional quarterback in Baker Mayfield, an emotional coach in Dan Campbell. Is this a game of simply who wants it more?
Are you going with me first? Is it?
I am going with you. Yes. Would you like to take a sip of water, because you did just talk quite a lot then? I didn't know if we needed. So I go to Johnny first if you want.
No, you're good. I just didn't know where we're going. If you watch the first half, or the first quarter at least, of the Buccaneers against the Eagles, there's a lot of drop passes, and the Eagles were still in the game for quite a while. I think, that if they'd have gone up against anybody else, they might have got a bit of a lead on them and a bit in front, and the Bucs would then be playing from behind. So I don't think you're going to get those mistakes and the space against the Lions. So I think this might be the end of the run for Baker Mayfield. I think the Lions are maybe one step too good for him across the board for talent wise. So, but it's another great story for the NFL, isn't it? I think he's been good. He's shown his maturity, shown that he can go to another team and produce the goods and win in the playoffs. So I think that's excellent for him. I think he's won himself another contract. So that's going to be good. But I think the Lions are a different class, and he's going to struggle and against them, especially if the mistakes are there like they were against the Eagles.
And Johnny, the Bucs going to Detroit, which, ordinarily you would go weather, but the Lions play inside. So, that's going to be fine for the Bucs going up to play in Detroit. How do you see this game going?
Yeah, I can't disagree with Andrew. I think the Lions will be heavily favoured going in, and I think they'll prove too good. These two teams met earlier in the season, and the Lions won, and they even had a lot of injuries. I believe Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery, Brian Branch didn't play in that game. So yeah, I think a full strength Lions team should be able to cope with the Buccaneers threat. We mentioned the advantage of playing at home, and I think that's something that the Lions definitely thrive on, particularly against the Rams, who I think everyone on the pod was favouring the Rams to cause a bit of an upset, which they almost did. But yeah, I think the Lions have real quality and could make a serious threat getting into the Super Bowl.